Hi, how are you? Hope you're good. Welcome to the floor.
We don't go the same places that we used to.
It is floor time. I think it was the end of last year where I had a video planned in my head. And the video was just the usual reacting to my 5-star predictions. But then when I looked at my videos, I actually couldn't find 5-star predictions. So I was like, oh, I must have just never done it. I did find that I did the reading the first chapter of the first 5-star predictions. So I did do that. So maybe we'll react to that too. But not a long while ago, I was actually looking for a different video of mine and stumbled across this. Top 10 books I have super high expectations for from 2017. Do I remember making this video? Not at all. Do I know what the books are mentioned? Also not at all. And I was so tempted to just click and see, but I've saved it for us to watch together. I don't know if this video will make it out there, especially if it's literally me listing a bunch of books in 2017 that I still have not read, because that will just be a true book roast, roasting myself, which is the only kind of roast that we really do here. Just a little fun I thought we could have together, so get cozy and let's try. All right, sure, let's go. Hello, how are you? Hope you're good. The cheery music in the background that everyone and their mother used to put in the videos. Boy. So the first book I have is Nod by Adrian. Bitch. Not a good start. Not a good start. I've still not read Nod. And Nod is supposed to be like I kind of reckon a little bit, you know, Black Mirror-ish, about a world where a large population amount just stops being able to sleep. In my slight defense, though entirely invalidly, because this video is in 2017, but since the end of 2019, I kind of avoided sleep topics, especially when it's like insomnia and people dying from it, because I have started having insomnia episodes that were very, very, very bad. Slight defense for 2019 and 20. I have nothing for 2018 and 17, so here we are. Next is Snow Like Ashes by Sarah. I did read that, okay. Whew, we're good. You know what? All I cared is that there was at least one book that I've read from the list, and here we have it. I would like to spend as much time speaking about this because I've read it. No, I'm joking. Snow Like Ashes. So I had very high expectations for that apparently, but I think by the time that I was actually reading, which I'm not sure when that exactly was, my expectations were lowered, I guess, a little bit. At the time that I was reading it, it was very much like middle of the road. I think it is a fairly old book, so I don't know if it's fair to say that it had all of the cliches and all of the plot twists that you would see even if you're blindfolded, you know? Although I don't know if it's that old, to be honest. Anyway, it was very predictable. It had like a lot of the aspects in the story that I, as a teen, planned for my own book. Granted, anytime, honestly, I just have like the utmost respect for any author that actually makes it out there and publishes their story and writes their story, because God knows I've not gone as far as to even properly write stuff, apart from that time where I lost a lot of it. Let's not speak about that. I think I gave it 3 stars. In retrospect, I remember very little, yet enough to like continue with the series, but I don't know if I ever will. I do still, I think, have the books, but they're definitely verging on a unhaul, just because I have so many other reads that I would rather read than continue with the series. It was good fun, but again, it was just way too predictable. It's your typical YA fantasy with the girl that had more responsibility than she thought she did, and there's this kingdom that they want to conquer back, and it's quite fun. It has a lot of winter settings, so if you're into that, that's good too. I really actually like the covers, which is probably why they are still on my shelves, which is not a good reason of keeping books, but I have read that one. It did not live up to my high expectations, apparently. Next book is Annihilation by Vandermeer. This has been given... Whoopsie daisy. I think we're collecting a whole fucking bouquet of whoopsie daisies here. Annihilation, I think I gave it 2 stars, and I think this was probably at the time that I did not really give low stars that often, because obviously the more you read, the more you have to compare it with, the more tropes you experience, the more you get tired of them. This didn't have that issue of the tropes at all, and this one hurts in particular because it's obviously Jay's one of the favorites. I just did not vibe with it, even though by all means I should have, and I actually preferred the movie because the movie came out later on. This book has a premise of having a very weird zone in this world where they send scientists and then they often not come back. And it was such a short book, and I just struggled way too much for it to grant anything more than that. I don't know what it was. I think it was partially the writing style, partially the decision to not go into people's personal stories, because that was like, it totally made sense within the sphere of the world, or the rules of the world, and they explained why they did that. But as a character-driven person, I think I just didn't get as engaged, because even though there were a lot of times in danger during this mission, is it Area X? I want to say it's Area X, but I might be wrong, it's been a while. I find it hard to care if they live or die, but it was very atmospheric, and I wonder if I read it now, if I liked it more, because I could have just been very much not in the mood for it, or if I thought maybe that it was a bit different to what it was. Now that I know better, I might have enjoyed it more, but I'm not quite sure. That one was another disappointment. I wonder if my most highly anticipated reads literally made those reads less enjoyable because I had such high expectations. It could be that. And this is her absolute favorite book for so. Next one is actually a second book in the series and the first book I absolutely loved. It was the book in the jar for April, and that's the book in the jar. Leave a book emoji if you've been here since the book in the jar days. Magic by V.E. Schwab. So I don't know if this is really fair, but whatever. I'm really looking forward to this, and I have very high hopes because of that. So it's The Gathering of Shadows. I actually did really enjoy it. I enjoyed the third book in that series by far the most, and I don't think it stuck with me as much as with some people. However, I did enjoy it, and I loved the third one. I know that there is this consensus that they did kind of suffer from the middle book syndrome, this trilogy, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I think it's because a tournament, and I'm very partial to tournaments. So I had a good time with it. So you know what? I think it was a decent prediction. I just did not love it. However, can we just like note that I have read these past 3 ones? because that might be it. Seriously giving. Someone put it in my graduation bag, and I have no idea who or why, or just no idea. So it also adds up to the mystery of this book, and I don't think I ever actually read a synopsis of it, because obviously it was graduation. I had other things to do, like graduate. So this is called The Fractured Man. It's written by Julian Conway. The Fractured Man. You know what? I think I still have it because it still intrigues me for all of those reasons that I've mentioned here. So I do have it, but I've not read it. I don't think that I have extremely high expectations. I think my expectations are pretty medium to low for that one now, but I've not read it. I have such high expectations for this book because it has been compared to my absolute favorite book ever, and that's The Name of the Wind, and everyone says that if you like The Name of the Wind, you will love the Lies of Lok Lamora. This book haunts me. I did not know that I actually had this since 2017, but I think this year was the first year that I didn't name it in my like reading goals video, because I always do and I never read it. I do still want to though. So I would read it and we could talk. And this is Genesis by Bernard Beckett. Did read it, did love it. A very short story, again, a very like Black Mirror-ish vibe, and I did actually love it when I read it. I don't know if I would now, but then that goes for everything that I've read more than like a couple of years ago, I feel. But I really liked it. I don't want to say anything about this. This is a very short book, and I think it's best you go in to it like blindly. I did really enjoy it, so that one was accurate. Next one is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Jay Kristoff was a co-author of Illuminate with Amy Kaufman, and I really enjoyed that book, and I actually have high expectations of this book than the other one because Logan read it and he loved it, and obviously... Okay, that one's complicated because I did like it. I pondered back upon it. I didn't love it to the 5-star rating, but I did really enjoy it, and I think I gave the first and the second one either 4, maybe the second one got a 3, but it could have scraped a 4. I think I liked the story-ish, but it got a little bit messy and it got a little bit draggy in places, and I don't love the writing style because it makes it feel like more work than normally. So whilst I love reading, like for example watching shows on Netflix and other platforms, to me that's relaxing. Reading is not always relaxing. Nevernight, I feel, to me just felt more so like labor for a bit more of the book that I would like, and I think it largely came back to the writing style. So I don't even know, like I've read 2 out of 3, so I might as well just finish, but I'm in no rush. But because I know that the end is supposed to be tragic, I kind of want to. So that one's complicated because I did like it, but I didn't. Number 9 is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiewater. This book is everywhere. I'm sure everyone knows what this is about. I actually don't know exactly what this is about. I know there's a girl and then like a group of... I'm sure everyone knows it, but me. Another one that's quite complicated because for the first like half of this book, I almost DNF'd it. And then the second half of the first book I loved. And then I read the rest of the series and enjoyed? Question mark. One of the books have had way too many car references and car speech and car stuff just for me personally, like I just not my jazz. But and the ending was disappointing to me because I think it lost its goal somewhere in the series, so it was a little bit frustrating. But overall, I actually am quite a fan of Raven Boys. I like the aesthetic, I like the crew, the supernatural aspect of it. Like I loved exploring Stiewater. I had a good time. So yeah, actually yeah, this one is a win. And last but absolutely not least, whilst I couldn't rate all the other books, this is definitely the one that I have the highest expectations for, and that's The Final Empire. Oh, okay. Yeah, that is one of my absolute favorite trilogies and books in general, so I'd say that one was spot on. I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed the world building, the characters, the plot twist at the end, and also I still think that this original trilogy, like the first 3, the first era in Mistborn, has one of the strongest, if not the strongest, endings to the series for me, for what I've read so far. Big fan. So it's an interesting mix of some predictions that are entirely off and some that are okay. Interesting. I don't want to go through the whole video because at some point between 2017 and 2019, I have forgotten how to make shorter videos, which clearly carried into now, but I did do that the first chapter, help you predict your next 5-star read challenge. And this little graph here, I think, is what, like, all of these books were, you know, 4 to 5-star predictions in my mind before I read the first chapter, and then this is where I sorted them once I read the first chapter. And I have read a couple of these books now, so let's go through them. From the 3 stars, there's Even the Darkest Stars and Autobiography, and I've not read either of them, so I don't know, but clearly reading the first chapter of them did put me a little bit off them, so it might be the reason why I have not picked them up yet. Then we have the 4-star category, Truth Witch. I've not read the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. God damn it, that title, honestly, every time it trips me up. I've not read, but I am reading next week. So I guess I'll come back to you about that. Red Rising actually is correct in the 4-star category. At first I think I gave it a 5 and then retrospectively lowered to 4. Still a high 4 because I really enjoyed myself. I mentioned this a couple of times now, but I would just read it at a good time. I read it and it just fit what I needed at that moment. But it wasn't perfect. So it is actually a 4-star, so it's correct in both respects, that I at first had very high expectations clearly for this book, and and then after reading the first chapter, I actually didn't like the first chapter, I remember. That's why I lowered it. And I will say that the beginning was my least favorite part of the book. So I can see why that happened. Then we had The Humans, which went into 4. Must have not loved the first chapter. However, this wasn't the whole like high expectations book, and it is a winner. I gave it 5 stars. I would probably give it 6 if I could. I don't reread books, but that one I might. I loved it. It's one of my favorite books now ever, so good on me for that prediction. The Alloy of Law, I still have not read it, but the reason actually is the first chapter. That's so crazy, because I read the first chapter and I loved Mistborn, as I established already. But because this one is set in more of a Western setting, I'm just not a big fan of it. But I know I will read it and I'll probably love it. I just haven't, and this might be why. Then we have Serpent and Dove, which I thought might be 5 stars, and then I put it in 4 stars, and it was a 4-star book. I think it was like a lower 4-star book as well. I actually enjoyed it, but I kind of am content where it stopped, and I've heard not great things about the second one, so I think I'm probably gonna leave it there. And then we have Red Sister, which makes sense. A lot of people said that I would love this book. And then I read the first chapter, didn't love it, put it down to 4 stars, but it's definitely, it wasn't a 4-star. Unpopular opinion, I actually DNF'd it at around 80 pages or something like that. I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into it, and I just couldn't. And then what's left in the 5-star category is actually Kings of the Wild, which after that challenge I straight up went into reading because I loved the beginning that much, and the beginning was still my favorite part, and then afterwards it got a little bit repetitive. So it ended up being like 3 or 4 stars because of that, but it definitely had a strong premise and it was enjoyable. And then we had The Poppy War, which is in the 5 stars. I think it got a 4-star rating, but a very high one. So also a good book out of this expectation pile. And then we also have The Way of Kings, which technically I shouldn't be rating, but it did get 4 stars because I read the part 1 book. Then I still need to read the part 2 book, which I know technically is the same book, but it's been split into 2, so I'm reading them as 2. But no, I do hope to get to that soon to actually put like a proper more rating, because obviously it's half a book. So you know what? Apart from Red Sister and Kings of the Wild, maybe, I'd say it was pretty accurate for the ones that I have read. So it feels still kind of like 50-50, or maybe not 50-50, but it feels like 70-30 as to whether or not I guess my what I will like. I might do a new 5-star prediction video and see if my predictive skills got any better over the years. Let me know of the most recent highly anticipated book that you've read, and did it live up to your expectations, or if it didn't, and why. I'd love to see those comments. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope this was somewhat entertaining. I just wanted to see what books I said I might love in 2017. That's literally it. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're well, stay awesome, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I ain't never ever hung my head